I'm going for speed and looks. Hopefully I got enough horsepower, a sleek car design, that I'm gonna just get out from underneath him as quick as I can.
I'm going for speed and looks. Hopefully, I got enough horsepower, a sleek car design, that I'm going to just get out from underneath him as quick as I can. Worst case scenario, if I got to weld the door shut, might as well have T-tops. Ejecto SEO. Big Chief's world was not all glory and fast cars. It was crashes, crime, and chaos. The man who ruled the streets on Street Outlaws wasn't just a legend behind the wheel, he was also running from the law. From a hit-and-run at just 18 to racing arrests, speeding tickets, and even a $1 million tax scandal, his past is as wild as the races he won. Tune in, because the biggest shock of all is still coming. Fast cars, fast cash, and a $1 million mistake, Big Chief. The name every street racing fan knows. The face that made Street Outlaws what it is today. But what if everything you thought you knew was only part of the picture? Justin Shearer, the man behind the legend, has a past that is not all high-octane thrills and television fame. A truth buried beneath the roar of the engines, waiting for the moment it can no longer be ignored. Born in the rolling hills of Louisville, Kentucky, way back in 1980, Big Chief was hooked on speed from an early age. By the time he moved to Oklahoma in 1992 at the age of 9, he was already obsessed with the underground street racing scene. He would ride his bike out to Old Route 66 just to watch the action, his young mind dreaming of the day he would be the one behind the wheel. That dream came true, but not without some serious twists and turns along the way. You can see it, parts are starting to break. Cars aren't doing what they're supposed to do. Everybody is so amped up. Nobody is working as hard as the 405 to go down roads right now. Before Street Outlaws made him a household name, Justin had already made a name for himself in other ways. His first big mistake came at just 18. Rushing into adulthood, he found himself caught up in a hit-and-run back in February of 1998. Instead of waiting for the police, he bolted from the scene. In Oklahoma, that is a big mistake. The law says you stay put after an accident, but Chief was not sticking around for that. When the dust settled, he was staring at the possibility of 2 years in prison. Lucky for him, he managed to dodge serious time, this time. Fast forward a few years, and in 2001, he found himself behind bars in Oklahoma once again. The charges? Well, nobody knows exactly, but they were serious enough to put him away for a while. Then, just 5 years later, he was at it again, caught tearing through Flagstaff, Arizona, at over 85 miles per hour. Was he racing? Testing out a new ride? Just pushing his luck? Whatever it was, the police were not having it. Another ticket, another brush with the law. Now, this was just the beginning. While Big Chief was stacking up traffic violations, the Discovery Channel came knocking. Suddenly, all that illegal street racing was being filmed for millions to see. But let's be real, was it really illegal? Not exactly. It turns out the whole thing was set up. The roads were closed, the police knew about it, and the so-called run-ins with the authorities? Staged. It was all for the cameras, to make the audience think they were getting the real deal. But here's the thing, off-camera, Big Chief was not done getting into trouble. In 2018, he got slapped with yet another speeding ticket, this time in Springfield, Missouri. Satisfaction in the confines of his garage at Midwest Street Cars, this isn't simply a work area. It's a safe haven where he, alongside his better half, worked on building their empire. By 2021, the trouble was still coming. Pulled over in Canadian Oklahoma, for an expired license plate. It was a small infraction, sure, but at this point, his record was looking anything but small. And then came the big one, driving on a suspended license. Now, this was not the first time Chief had his license taken away. He had even talked about it on the show, joking about how he was driving around with no tags, no bill of sale, and no valid license. But getting caught, that was new. This time, he was facing up to a year in jail. You'd think that would be enough, right? But no. If there's one thing Big Chief loves more than speed, it is avoiding the Internal Revenue Service. In 2021, the federal government came knocking, and they were not asking for a favor. It turns out Chief had skipped out on his taxes from 2013 to 2018, right when Street Outlaws was blowing up. The bill? A staggering $1,250,000. And when the IRS comes for you, they do not just ask nicely. They take what they are owed: cars, houses, bank accounts. Nothing is off limits. If he does not pay up by 2029, he might just lose it all. And just when you thought Big Chief's past was wild enough, there's another story waiting to be told. A name not as well known, but a legacy that refuses to be forgotten. Built to win. Lost too soon. Have you ever noticed how some folks only get famous after they're gone? That's the deal with musicians like Johann Sebastian Bach and Vincent van Gogh. Writers like Emily Dickinson and Herman Melville. Even Bruce Lee in the movie world. But here's one for the car racing crowd: Tyler "Flip" Pretty. Not exactly a household name, unless you were deep into street racing. But this dude left his mark. Flip was part of the Oklahoma racing scene, rolling with the boys who would later become reality television stars. He had the attitude, the skills, and a car that looked like a disaster but somehow tore up the streets. But here's the twist: by the time Street Outlaws hit television screens, Flip was already gone. And his death? Still a mystery. Back in 2013, Discovery Channel launched Street Outlaws, giving viewers an inside look at illegal street racing and the characters who made it all happen. The show had drama, crazy car modifications, and some of the biggest personalities in the scene. Guys like Big Chief, real name Justin Shearer, and Kamikaze, real name Chris Day, made names for themselves. But their friend Flip? He should have been a bigger deal. Flip was right there at the start, part of the original crew of Oklahoma street racers. He had a beast of a car, a beat-up 1980 Chevrolet El Camino, known as the Elko, or its more colorful name, your mom. This thing was put together with whatever Flip could scavenge, borrow, or straight-up steal, allegedly. It looked rough, but it was fast. The dude had personality, too, always had a beer in one hand, a cigarette in the other, and never backed down from talking smack. That's the kind of guy who makes great television. But Flip never got to enjoy that fame, because right before the show aired, he was gone. Tyler Gene Pretty was born on November 30th, 1981, in Chickasha, Oklahoma. It's kind of fitting that he came from a place with such deep racing roots. His love for cars started young, thanks to his dad, who was also into drag racing. He grew up with Big Chief and Kamikaze, and those three were all about cars from the beginning, riding bikes together to watch races, learning everything they could, and eventually getting into the scene themselves. Flip took the usual path, went through school, got a job, and lived a normal life for a while. He worked as a storekeeper before landing a gig at Warren Caterpillar, where he stuck around for 10 years. But racing was always the dream. Caterpillar even sponsored some of his races, which was pretty sweet. He didn't just talk about racing, he lived it. Every spare dollar went into making his El Camino as fast and as sketchy as possible. Now, your mom is the name of a car, not a driver. For him to name his car that, it better be stupid fast. People joked it was held together with duct tape, and honestly, they weren't wrong. But guess what? That car won. And it made Flip a name in the underground racing world. This is where things get murky. Flip died on May 28, 2013, at just 31 years old. But nobody really knows what happened. A beast on the Oklahoma racing scene, and Jeff was just some kid trying to prove himself. Something clicked between them, and soon enough, they were inseparable. Jeff was not out here buying the fastest, most expensive muscle car like some of the other racers. He had a different idea. He got himself a 1970 Volkswagen Beetle, a bug. Not exactly the kind of car people expect to see tearing up a drag strip, but Jeff was not about playing by the rules. He turned that tiny, rusty, ridiculous car into something that could keep up with the big boys. All could have crashed. That's the one thing I wish I didn't. I let people down. People called it the dung beetle, and it became as much a part of his identity as his trash talk. Jeff was not chasing trophies. While other racers were all about proving who was the fastest, he and Farm Truck were more interested in just having fun. They built weird, unpredictable cars that could still hold their own. While that made them fan favorites, it also meant that they were not exactly seen as serious competitors. The people behind Street Outlaws eventually noticed them, and in the year 2013, Jeff and Farm Truck got their shot at television fame. They were not the ones winning every race, but they were definitely the ones making people laugh. Jeff had a way of hyping things up, talking trash, and keeping the energy going. People loved it. But in the world of drag racing, being entertaining does not always keep someone on the track. Jeff's racing style was not built for straight-up competition. The dung beetle was fast, but it was not taking home victories anytime soon. For the producers of the show, that was a problem. After all, people tune in to see racers go head-to-head, not just for the laughs. Over time, Jeff and Farm Truck started getting left out of races. Some say it was because they were not serious enough about winning. Others think the producers just wanted to focus on the people fighting for the top spot. Either way, Jeff and Farm Truck had to figure out their next move. Instead of fading into the background, they flipped the script. If they could not race like the others, they would do something completely different. That is when they got their own spin-off, Street Outlaws, Farm Truck and AZN. I just got a call from Steve over at Wet Pets. He says the aquarium is done. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I think this thing is going to be amazing. This show was not about climbing the rankings or taking home prize money. It was about having fun, building insane cars, and doing things their way. Whether it was taking a hearse and turning it into a speed demon or making something completely ridiculous just for the laughs, they were all in. Despite their best efforts, the show did not really blow up the way they had hoped. Maybe the audience was not as into the wild builds as they were into the hardcore racing. Maybe the network did not push it hard enough. Either way, it did not last, and eventually, Jeff and Farm Truck found their way back to the main Street Outlaws show. Even with the setbacks, Jeff's impact on the scene was undeniable. He was not the fastest, but he brought something different to the table. He made racing fun. He gave fans a reason to laugh in a sport that is usually all about tension and rivalry. That is what kept people coming back. Not everything was just about cars and racing. Jeff had his fair share of personal struggles too. His mother passed away when he was just a teenager, and his father died a few years later, leaving him and his sister to figure things out on their own. Maybe that is why he gravitated toward Farm Truck. He needed someone to help him keep pushing forward. When he was not on the track, people started wondering about his personal life. But that loss right there means the world to me because I didn't give. Dave was in the other lane. I raced the road, and the car is so goddamn fast down low. I out on Dave. There were rumors about a long-term relationship with someone named Lisa Lacey, but Jeff never really put much out there about it. He kept that part of his life private, maybe to keep the focus on the cars and the fun rather than the drama. Jeff was never just some sidekick. He was a man who took an unconventional path and made it work. He did not chase the same dreams as the other racers, he made his own lane, even if it was not always the easiest road. As Jeff carved his own lane in life, it leaves us with one final question: did his love for racing stem from passion or the need to escape? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories like this.